Welcome to today's episode, where we are diving into the delicious chaos of Thanksgiving leftovers. Today, my guest co-host Sammie will be joining me. We are going to be talking about creative recipes to questionable fridge finds. We're breaking down how to make the most of the holiday haul. Grab a plate because it's time to talk turkey and everything else. Thanks again for listening. This is Liza. And again, I have my really good mom friend, Sammie, here.
Hi, Liza.
Thank you for joining me on this episode.
Thanks for having me.
So we thought this would be a fitting episode because Thanksgiving just happened or will be happening, right? And we are talking about Thanksgiving leftovers, like what we do with our leftovers, how to store it, any storing tips, any, recipe tips. So Sammie, what are you going to be doing for Thanksgiving this year? Are you doing any of the big cooking?
I would host every year. This is probably the first time I'm not hosting Thanksgiving. I'm actually traveling. I hate traveling during Thanksgiving. But my husband's nephew just had a baby, number 3, and they have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-month-old. So they're like, we do not want to travel. So we're actually traveling. And I'm not cooking anything for the first time for Thanksgiving. But yeah.
Isn't that nice?
It's very nice, but it's also like, I'm just worried that now that I'm not cooking this year, is that going to happen every year? Because I honestly love cooking Thanksgiving meal. It's one of my favorite holidays too.
So do you do the traditional like turkey stuffing? Like what do you usually do?
So I do the traditional Thanksgiving when I host. I know some folks are like, they don't like the turkey or whatever, right? But I feel like once a year we have turkey. So I do the whole entire like traditional Thanksgiving meal.
Do you guys do you guys bring any Asian dishes?
Of course.
Like, do you have the papaya salad? For those of you who don't know, Sammie is Laotian and your husband is Cambodian?
Yes.
And we love Sammie's papaya salad, which is it a Laotian dish?
It is.
And it's like a papaya is some type of, I don't know if it's a vegetable or fruit or something, but it's like, how can I explain what papaya salad is?
Well, I say it's, Laotian dish, but Thai also has a version. Cambodian also has a version of papaya salad. I think Vietnamese have a version of papaya salad, right? Filipino
and it
have
has
a version.
Like a fish sauce.
So I know the Laotian one. What's I think the key difference is that we use fermented fish, in ours, right? And so we have papaya salad, and it seems like it's a must-have dish for every occasion.
And it's it's often spicy, really spicy, depending on how many chilies you put in it. So my question is it an actual salad or is it a side dish?
You're making me think. I think
like, do you eat it as a regular salad?
You can eat it as an actual entree if you wanted to.
Okay.
So I don't think it has, but I think most restaurant will label it as like a salad,
starter, like a starter,
a salad. Yeah, but we can eat it just by itself.
Yeah, I love that stuff. But I think in Asian culture, anything, because it's usually some people put fish sauce in it, or shrimp, right?
Shrimp paste, crab paste.
Yeah. I love anything vinegary, like fish saucy, so it's good. So you guys eat it with the turkey, like all the other traditional stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We do.
Always have to, and rice.
Yes, always have to have rice, and papaya salad has to be spicy, Liza. If it's not spicy, I don't even know how it's supposed to taste. Sometimes
I want to ask them to put half a chili. That's all I can, tolerate is half a chili.
Yeah, because like I said, I'll make it non-spicy, but I'm like, I don't know how it's supposed to taste. Is it supposed to be like this? Because it's meant to be spicy.
Yeah. So if you guys like spicy, papaya salad is really good. So big question is, when Thanksgiving dinner is done, or lunch, or whatever you do you always have leftovers, and what do you do with them?
So I think in not only Thanksgiving, but in any parties alone, right? We usually have to-go boxes for our friends to take home, right? But I think for Thanksgiving, the kids will pack it. Like my husband's niece and nephew that comes over, they'll pack it, they'll take it home. And what's really left over for us is really the actual, all like the bone of the turkey and all of that. So what I do with that the next day is I'll turn it into a broth. I'll make what we call kapiak sen. It's kind of like chicken noodle soup, or in this case it's turkey noodle soup. But we'll make the noodles from scratch, kind of like the Vietnamese banh canh. So it's like a tapioca rice flour kind of noodle, and then we'll turn it into a broth and make noodle soup with it the next day.
That sounds really good.
It's actually one of my favorite soup is that noodle soup. It's like good for hangovers, good for, late night of drinking. Like it's just good for everything.
Ooh, that sounds good. Yeah, we usually always get stuck with the turkey. So like I'll freeze it, but I'll make kind of the same thing. Like I'll make like arroz caldo. So that's like for those who don't know, it's like a Filipino porridge dish. It has rice porridge, and it's usually chicken, but we use turkey. Or I'll make like a chicken noodle soup too. I forgot. I think it's sopas. Sopas is it's like macaroni. We usually use chicken, but we use the turkey, carrots, celery, cabbage, and then I usually put chicken broth, but I use chicken broth and I like to put coconut milk in it. Oh. And sometimes like curry powder, like really, really good. So turkey is usually really good leftover for stews and like soups and stuff like you said. But I also like to make like a really good sandwich. So what I usually do is I'll make like a turkey sandwich. Are you a cranberry person?
I am, and I make my cranberry sauce from scratch. I absolutely love it.
I don't know what to do with it. Like I always put it on my plate, but it doesn't taste good to me on anything. So
really, you don't like it with your turkey?
No,
I love it with my turkey.
Yeah. So sometimes like if the kids like cranberry, I'll smear cranberry on the bottom bread. Then I smear stuffing. Then I put like layers of turkey, sometimes ham, and then I get another piece of bread and I dip it in gravy and I put it in the middle.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yes, and then I stack veggies and then I put the bread on top.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, so it's like Thanksgiving in a sandwich. It's really good.
That sounds good.
Really, really good. My favorite. So that's what I usually do. So I thought it would be interesting or fitting to also pull up how to store Thanksgiving leftovers. So this article that I pulled up, Sammie, is from foodsafety.gov. So handling food safety to make sure, you don't want anyone to get sick. You don't want to get sick after that. First of all, so when you cook your turkey, how do you know that it's cooked? Like, do you insert a thermometer or do you just go by how long it bakes?
No, I do have a thermometer.
Okay.
I insert.
So to be honest with you, I've never cooked like a turkey on my own. So I don't know. Like I always buy it already cooked from like Whole Foods does them, and then I just throw it in the oven. So, okay. So that's that. You make sure that it's cooked with a thermometer.
Yes.
Okay. So leftovers should be stored within 2 hours of cooking. Divide leftovers into smaller portions and refrigerate or freeze them in covered containers so that they cool quickly. A large container or whole turkey will take too long to cool down to a safe temperature, which gives bacteria a chance to multiply. So me and Irene were just saying this. We're guilty of leaving things out and then not putting them in right away. We just leave it out and then eat it for dinner. How true is that you have to do it within 2 hours?
It's true. I used to be the same, but I think,
And for those of you that don't know, Sammie used to be in the restaurant industry. So she knows a lot of this stuff. She knows food safety. Yeah.
At least, I agree. I think a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know either until I had to take, a food safety class. And then, owning a restaurant, you really have to be on top of that to make sure no one gets sick, right? That you're serving. So that was a big deal for us. So I think that habit I do that at home. I don't leave anything on the counter. Once we're done cooking, I'll break it up. If it's a big portion, we'll break it into small portion because it needs to cool down as quickly as possible. And then, I do put it in the fridge, it should cool down within the 2 hours if you don't have a big portion.
Yeah. And I can't imagine anyone putting a whole turkey in the fridge.
No, I don't think.
Like what they say here, I'm like, it's natural you need to cut. The turkey is supposed to be cut up anyways, like carved, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It should be. And, even prior to cooking the turkey, right? People are either brining their turkey the night before. Like, how are they doing that? Or, do they have a big enough fridge to keep it brine in the fridge, And so those are the things that especially turkey, people can get really sick if you're not handling it correctly.
Yeah. So Liza, question, what does brining do for a turkey?
Kind of marinates, I guess. It kind of marinates it. I personally brine mine the night before. I put it with ice and I use pineapple juice for my brining with other seasoning and stuff. And then we'll put it on ice in a cooler so it stays cold the night before.
Does
it's kind of like marinating it.
Does it make it any juicier?
I personally think so.
Yeah.
you know? So, I mean, it tastes better too because, you know.
I might just make my own turkey sometime. I don't know. It's just very interesting to me. And do you fry it or do you bake like traditional bake?
I traditionally bake mine. I'm scared to fry it.
Yeah, I've heard so many
horror stories, and I'm just scared. I'm just scared. Yeah, I don't want to be that person that starts a fire with my turkey. So I just bake it traditionally.
Yeah. Have you ever tried a turkey that was deep fried?
I have not.
I have. It's actually really juicy.
I bet you it's
like
good.
You think that it's dry, but it's not. It's actually pretty juicy. But again, like I've seen someone do it, and it looks so fucking dangerous.
Yeah, No.
Yeah.
I don't think I can fry it.
Yeah. Chicken wings is fine, but not a whole turkey.
Yes.
Okay. So 76% of respondents in a recent USDA study said that they would refrigerate leftovers after letting them cool to room temperature first. This is not necessary and could actually make your food unsafe. Leftovers should be placed in the refrigerator or freezer as soon as possible, even if they still have steam or heat coming off of them.
I think it'll spoil faster.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, at least I would make sure the steam's all gone, and you might have to stir it a few times to make sure it cools down faster and no more steam. But I would not refrigerate or freeze something that's still steaming.
Yeah, especially rice. Like rice, it will spoil for sure.
It will spoil. Not only that, but you imagine you stick something hot in your fridge. Now it's going to decrease the temperature in your fridge. Yeah. What happened to everything else that's in there?
Yeah. And I've let it cool down. I've never been sick, nor has anyone in my house. So that's weird. That's weird to say, but yeah, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Foodsafety.gov, do better. You're going to have people putting food right out of the oven in the fridge, right? That's so strange.
Would definitely, for sure. Rice would spoil for sure.
Yeah, anything with rice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so how long do the turkey and trimmings stay safe in the refrigerator or freezer? So leftovers can be kept in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 days. This means you have until the Monday after Thanksgiving to eat all those delicious leftovers or place them in the freezer to enjoy later. If you store leftovers in the freezer, they will be best of quality within 2 to 6 months. So for me personally, I think up to 5, maybe 7 days is okay for me. What do you think? In the fridge?
Yeah, I'm about that range, 3 to 4 days too.
Really?
Yeah. And I'll stick it in the freezer.
Days. Yeah.
And I don't leave my stuff more than 6 months in the freezer.
Yeah.
So I clean up my freezer often.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Meaning there's times where I'm like, no more buying meat. We're eating everything we have in this freezer. Yeah. We're going to figure out how to make a dish with whatever we have.
And that's a really good money saver too. Because I'm guilty of not throwing it. There's probably things in there that have been there since I've moved in. You know, that's what I should probably do during my break is clean out my freezer.
I mean, if you ask my kids, there's times where I'm pulling things out of the freezer. I'm like, oh, these are leftovers. Yeah. We have to eat them.
Yeah. See, and I think that is a big money saver is like looking at your freezer and thinking of what you can do. And I'm so bad at that.
I mean, I'm guilty though. Like it's easier said than done. Trust me. There's some leftovers. I'm just like, do we really want to eat that? You know, and you know, you feel bad for throwing it away. So you eat it just because it's there. I mean, at least that's me. My kids may not say the same. I mean, they'll be like, oh, we'll make something new, you know? But for me, I think I just don't like wasting food, right? I just don't like it. So I will freeze leftover and then we'll bring it out and, you know, eat it.
You're so good, Sammie. Now you've motivated me to actually look through my freezer and I'm scared. I'm scared. I definitely wouldn't eat anything or make anything from there, but I think moving forward I should probably do that.
Yeah, even like every 6 months or, you know, go through your freezer and be like, you know what? I'm going to empty this out before I buy anything new.
Do you label things in there? Like, how do you know that it's been 6 months? Like if you were to pull out like a meat.
See, because like I said, I don't store stuff very long.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I don't personally label mine or date mine, but I don't really store stuff. Before I even go grocery shopping, I'll look in my freezer first. Oh, what do we have in here? Let's just pull it out and make whatever.
Yeah. That's a good tip that I should probably follow.
Because it is hard. When you go to the store, you buy things and it's like whatever's left, you just stick it in the freezer and you never go back to it afterwards.
So so I have a question for you. How good are you with eating leftovers? I am very guilty of like, I'm taking leftovers and we're going to eat it and we never eat it. And it just stays in there. Are you pretty good at eating your leftovers?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because I feel guilty. If I waste food, I feel guilty. My kids may not say the same.
See, I'm so bad I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this home and I'm going to eat it. And I never eat it. And it just sits there. Yeah. But I think that's like I'm on this thing where like I need to save money because everything's so expensive now, and I need to like follow those tips. Like,
well, maybe you can turn this leftover into something else, like another dish. I think that seems to work, whether you're tweaking it by, I don't know, turning whatever into something different, you know, so that might help.
And my kids are so spoiled too. They're like, I don't want to eat leftovers, but then I let them like, okay, like let's go order in. So I need to be really good about that stuff.
I think as they get older, I mean, I'm actually cooking less, you know, than I'd like. And then I notice, again, as a mother, you feel guilty because you feel like you have to have dinner for your kids every night. And I'm that mom now. I'm like, I'm not going to cook. The kids are like, they don't care. They find whatever they can make and they put something together really quick for themselves. And then Bunley and I would just eat whatever like leftover or make even just fried eggs.
Yeah.
You know, because we're so over trying to go out. Like you get tired of like, where do you go? You know, you go eat out so often that you're like, what else do we want? We will go out for Korean though. That's one thing we will go out for.
You're not like Debbie and Peter eat hot pot like 3 times a week.
Oh yeah. See, Bunley doesn't like any hot pot places whatsoever. So
really? He doesn't like hot pot? But he likes Korean barbecue.
He likes hot pot at home.
Oh,
he doesn't like hot pot anywhere else.
Yeah.
So if it's hot pot, it's
Why
at home.
is that?
He's tried it. He doesn't like the flavor of it.
Oh, so he just likes to control
the home hot pot ones that we make at home.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about reheating leftovers. Reheat leftovers safely. So it is safe to reheat frozen leftovers without thawing, either in a saucepan or microwave, or in the oven or microwave. Reheating will take longer if the food is thawed first, but is safe to do when time is short. When reheating leftovers, be sure they reach 165 degrees or 74 degrees Celsius as measured with a food thermometer. Cover leftovers to reheat. This retains moisture and ensures that food will heat all the way through.
Well, I don't measure the reheating.
Like I don't put a thermometer on the food that you're reheating. Like it's already cooked. You're just reheating it.
I mean, it makes sense for it to reheat to a certain temperature so that it's safe to eat. But I definitely don't use a thermometer to make sure it's 165.
I know. Who does that?
I don't think.
Because it obviously was already cooked to begin with, right? That's very strange.
Yeah, but if you're like, I mean, obviously, like if you're reheating soup or whatever, right? Obviously, you're going to let it boil all the way through. And if you're reheating something in the microwave, yes, I do cover mine with a wet paper towel. Oh, okay. That way it keeps the moisture in. So I don't know if you guys do that, but when I reheat stuff in the microwave, I will wet my paper towels and I'll cover the food so it keeps it moist when you microwave food.
You know, what I saw someone do on Instagram was that every time she reheats her rice, she puts an ice cube and then covers it.
Because it probably moisture
it makes the rice more moist. Yeah. Oh.
But I do that. But I definitely don't measure it.
And it says it's safe to reheat frozen leftovers without thawing. Like, wouldn't that just take a lot longer?
It would. Yeah, it would take a lot longer.
But TV dinners, they're frozen.
Oh, that's true.
That's true.
TV dinners are already frozen.
That's true.
But I mean, I think this is like, other than the thermometer thing, it's pretty accurate. I mean, you would just heat it on the stove, oven, or microwave. So do you feel like if you reheat turkey, well, for me, this is different because I always make soup or stews, like we'll make it drier?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I would think so. Because turkey is kind of dry,
it's
right?
Dry to begin with.
I would think it would be dry.
So I'm wondering what would be the best way to reheat turkey without drying it?
Add gravy.
Yeah. But definitely not microwave, I don't think. Right? Not microwave. Maybe baking it in the oven. Rebaking.
That would dry it too, no?
I don't know. I would think
add it.
Oh, frying. I think frying would make it even more drier. Right? I don't know. We should
try it out.
What makes it more? Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty common sense as far as reheating, unless you want to eat it cold. Like for turkey sandwiches, you can probably just have the turkey cold. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, any other advice for people that want to save their leftovers?
My recommendation really is when I save leftovers, it's always in a small portion, like ready to eat portion.
Oh, so not like in a one big container.
Because, I mean, you think about it. If it's like on a lazy weeknight and you don't want to cook, I'll just grab that one container and I'll come warm it up because that's what I want to eat for the night, right? So I usually store stuff in small portions where it's like a single serving. Mm-hmm. So anyone can just grab it.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, no one grabs anything from the freezer besides me.
Yeah.
you know?
Because that requires like thawing and cooking.
I mean, they just need to warm it up. But I think because it's in the freezer and it's leftover, no one wants to touch it. Unless it's like me pulling it out of the freezer and warming it up and then turning it into this meal that they thought I just made that day. You know what I mean? So they have no clue, you know? But I freeze broth all the time. Because to me, I think it's hard to make broth, but...
So how do you freeze broth? Like, do you put it in Ziploc bags? Or?
No, I usually put it in a 32-ounce container, like a plastic, you know, those to-go containers, and I'll just store that in my freezer. And then, like the noodle that I mentioned, it's really, you know, it's made from scratch, right? So it's really hard to do. So when I make that, I store it in, a single serving portion. So when I want to eat on a cold, rainy night, I can just pull the broth out and the noodle out and boil it.
Oh,
you know, so on my downtime, I like to make the noodle and store it in my freezer.
Oh,
yeah.
I've never like had to store soup or broth, but that's a good idea. Soup. Okay.
It's convenient.
So speaking of thawing things, what are your tips, Sammie, working in the restaurant business, like thawing raw meat? Like if you were to have raw meat, like freeze raw meat or chicken or whatever, what would be the best way to safely handling defrosting of these things?
So I think prior to the restaurant business, thawing out meat has always traditionally been putting it on the kitchen counter and letting it thaw out
like me
the night before, right? Like, I want to make this tomorrow. Let's bring this out of the freezer tonight and we'll put it on the kitchen counter, right? And I think that's how we grew up. That's how my parents did it. That's how my grandparents did it. But being in the restaurant business and learning about that, I definitely don't thaw my meat on the counter anymore. I put everything in the refrigerator. So it goes from freezer to refrigerator. And you have to plan it ahead, like maybe 3 days ahead.
Oh, 3 days?
Oh, yeah, because it's not going to defrost within one night, right? It's going to take time to defrost if the portion is big. So you definitely have to plan ahead, maybe, 2 days, 3 days. If it's like a whole chicken, right? Obviously, you'll need to defrost that 3 days ahead, But if it's just like shrimp, I like to cook my shrimp straight frozen just because if you ever boil shrimp and if it's straight frozen, it's small, it's quick, it can cook quickly, right? And it actually tastes better. It has this bouncy, you should try it.
That's a good tip because I'm always having to defrost it.
Yes, you do not have, that's one thing I learned.
Is it with the skin on and the
So
head?
I don't buy the one with the skin on.
Oh, so this is like
easy to peel it.
Okay.
This is the one that's already clean and no skin or anything, right? And it's small. So it's the cooking time is quick. So, but you do not need to try it. Boil it straight from the freezer, frozen, and it has such a different texture that I like more, right? But as far as any other meat, like beef, chicken, any of that other meat, I will defrost it in the refrigerator. I don't leave the meat on the counter. But you do have to plan ahead.
Yeah, girl. I'm like the same. I figure out what I'm cooking that day and like I just leave it out before I go to work and then cook it when I get back.
Yeah.
Because I tried the fridge thing, but again, it's hard for me to plan ahead. So,
and I think part of that is why I don't store a lot of meat, right? And so, I mean, obviously we go to Costco, we buy a huge pack of stuff, right? I'll cut that up. I will never store a big pack in my freezer. I will cut it up into small portions, cooking portions, and then I will freeze the small bags versus a big slab of ribs, right? It's going to be harder to cook. Or, because you don't want to defrost the whole thing and also have to put it back in the freezer because we're not supposed to defrost something and then put it back in the freezer. Once it's defrosted, you're supposed to just cook it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's
so you can't defrost a second time.
You shouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You shouldn't. Yeah.
Very good tips. I'm so surprised I haven't gotten sick.
But again, you know what? It's funny because this is just based on what health inspection here says, right? And I remember one of my health inspector, he was married to a Filipina, and he went to the Philippines. And I asked him, I'm like, back in Laos and Cambodia, same thing, right? Our health inspection requirements are not as strict as it is here, right? Back at home. I don't know how it is in the Philippines. But I asked him, I'm like, you went to the Philippines, and you work in health inspection. You write me up for stuff that's so minor. How do you handle it when you go back home? Right? And he's like, I ignore everything. He goes, I eat everything and I'm okay with it. He goes, I just ignore.
He doesn't want to know.
Yeah, he doesn't inspect when he's there.
Okay.
But the fact that he is a health inspector in the US and he's okay with eating the food that's back home, and he knows the ins and out of inspecting food, right? To me, I feel like we're just over the top, right? So, I mean, it's okay that you defrost and put it back in the freezer again, you know, because I know that's not the rule, but it seems like if he was okay with eating everything back home and he knows the ins and out of health inspection, to me, I feel like it's okay.
It's fine. Yeah.
That's probably why you haven't gotten sick.
my stomach is probably used to all the viruses. I've like been immune to, you know, stomach viruses or something.
Yeah. But it does suck though, because like you go back and I see people, even here, you see people at the restaurant and I can see certain thing that goes on in the kitchen. I'm just like, I did not see that. I don't, you know, like, are you seriously wearing the same gloves that you're handling money? And please, can you take it off? Like, do I tell them or do I just keep my mouth shut?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? Right? It's like, you just touch money and you just touch my food. Or like people wear gloves and they think it's like, they could do whatever they want and they don't got to change gloves.
Yeah.
I'm just like, do I say something?
Yeah.
And I think that's what sucks is that being in the industry, you analyze all of that when you go to places.
Yeah. I've been to a restaurant and then they were serving us water, but the guy was holding 2 cups of water with one hand, but his finger, he was holding it from the top of the cup so that his fingers were in the water. I can't, you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Know.
And then he put it on the table and we were like, oh my God.
Oh, someone carries this bowl of soup and their thumb is like on the lid of the top of your bowl, right?
Oh
like, I think it sucks in a way because then you know all these things being in the restaurant business. And I think that's why I was so, anal when I had the restaurant and the employees didn't understand why. And I'm like, I don't care. I could buy more gloves. You need to change it when you're supposed to change it. You know, like I was really big on that because I was scared people were going to get sick.
Yeah. And it's your restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah,
so no more restaurant. Thank God I can sleep now. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Well, Sammie, thank you for joining us. This was fun.
Yeah.
This was a fun episode. So I just wanted to take time to tell you guys that I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for your friendship, and we've been friends for over a decade. And as a host of We Time Convo, and me and Irene and Debbie and all our hosts, we want to thank our guests for listening to our podcast and believing in us and supporting us. But yeah, we hope that you guys all had a really great Thanksgiving.
Well, you do the same, Liza.
Thanks, Sammie.